Blonde Indian by Ernestine Hayes is a wholly unique memoir that blends Tlingit folklore, personal stories, and standalone stories in a way that creates a tapestry of an emotional portrait of modern Tlingit life. It is as rich in Juno's history as it is in her own story. She's one of those rare storytellers who can utilize formatting as paintbrush in her story in a way that isn't overdone and in a way that sounds very natural and contributes to the overall theme of the core narrative. Some of my unfiltered thoughts about this story: Ernestine Hayes was a teacher of mine at UAS, and she was one of the people who inspired me to be an English major when I took one of her creative writing classes, and she's a really special person. She is the current Alaska State Writer Laureate, and she is very, very knowledgeable about things related to Alaska, and especially Southeast Alaska. She used to be a tour guide, so not only does she have a lot of extensive knowledge about native folklore stories, but she also has a lot of knowledge about just Juneau's history in general and Alaska's history in general, and things as diverse as geology and ancient history and biology, marine biology, and she's really very, very knowledgeable. It's a great book to learn about Juneau, Alaska, and it's a great book to learn about the history of Juneau, Alaska, and to see things in Juneau that you wouldn't normally see. And it made me see Juneau in a different way when I read this book. There's all kinds of things that I just didn't realize about Juneau's past. She mentions a tuberculosis ward that her mother used to live in, that's by Willoughby Street, right near Village Street where she grew up, and she mentions a graveyard that was a native graveyard that was excavated in a way that was very disrespectful to native people. So it just like layers my surroundings of Juneau in a rich history that I didn't know before. And if you want to learn about Southeast Alaska and about native issues and things like that, it's a great one to pick up. But it's also a very, very emotional story, and it's a very creatively done story. She weaves all these different threads together. There's these standalone stories that jump back and forth in time about different characters that are unrelated to her and that are depictions of modern native life that you're not really sure if they are fictional stories or if they are real stories. Some of the most emotional stuff in there is in those stories, and it kind of reminds me of the traditional story cycle like in Winsburg, Ohio, where it's just these little standalone snippets jumping back and forth in time, and they vaguely connect to this core central story of her telling her life story. And there was a lot of times when I was on the brink of tears practically reading this book. Those standalone stories are so rich, and the drama of her own personal stories are so rich as well. If you want to learn about Alaska, definitely give it a shot. It's great. Those are my thoughts on Blonde Indian by Ernestine Hayes.